amid the growing hardship in Nigeria following the policies of the present administration, led by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. A foundation member of the All Progressives Congress, Osita Okechukwu, has advised President Tinubu to beware of the governors and special interests before they kill his two progressive milestones. According to Okechukwu, the two outstanding milestones of Mr. President are local government councils' financial autonomy, achieved via a landmark judgment of the Supreme Court, and the allocation of 450,000 barrels per day crude oil to local refineries, which he says should not be squandered. The former Director General of the Voice of Nigeria, VON, offered this advice in Abuja while speaking with journalists on the state of the nation. He objected to a purported 3-month extension of the enforcement of the Supreme Court judgment, saying the Apex Court did not grant such a bazaar to the governors. Joining us now on the morning show is Osita Okechukwu, former Director General of the Voice of Nigeria, VON. Good morning, Mr. Okechukwu. Thank you for joining us on the morning show.
Good morning, Dr. Ruby. Good morning, Sasi Verify.
Good morning, sir.
And Sister V.
Good morning, sir.
And we are audience worldwide.
Okay, well, let's deal with the two issues signposted in the introduction. Your point about President Tinubu's milestones, local government financial autonomy, even if I don't think that's really original to the Tinubu administration. And then the second point about these 450,000 barrels of crude oil per day being supplied to refineries, where even with that, you know, we have read stories saying the local refineries are not getting enough crude oil, you know, as expected from, you know, the relevant quarters. But you have your point of view. If we could start with that before we interrogate other issues.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ruby. The truth of the matter is that the statement was made over a month ago, and a lot of water had passed through the bridge then, one of which is that President Tinubu had been very attentive to the outcry on the streets. You can imagine under your regime, there was a nationwide protest saying bad governance, hunger. So he set up a review committee, and they reviewed both the Renewed Hope agenda, our manifesto, and what the government had done. And so found these two issues I mentioned. I attended one of the meetings where they told me, they said, Osita, guess what? We need the governors to meet up with the fine details of the Supreme Court landmark judgment. And you could see that since the judgment, over 10 states had conducted local council elections, and more are in the offing. And the good thing about that move is that the opposition, in the next few weeks, it will be held like in a state like my state in Enugu. The opposition, we that know that Enugu is not our stronghold, because of the fact that the people have been told in black and white by that judgment that the local government council now belongs to them, were energized, and the opposition across the country is also energized. So I think the Tinubu administration had explained why the 3 months latitude was given for the governors to meet up with the fine details of that law. On the 450,000 barrels of oil, I was also invited to a meeting. This is where I have to thank the media, my colleagues in the media, like your medium. The government is listening to what you are saying. The outcry is so profound that even the social-cultural group like Afenifere, at this time Afenifere, not even the Padeba zone, but the one that Mr. President could not say is against him, the ACF, the Johannes, the Middle Belt Forum, everybody had cried out. So Mr. President absorbed all those things quietly and had said, okay, over 80% of that 450,000 had been allocated to Dangote refinery, the one that we know is the biggest today on the ground, and the rest will be spread across the line. And he said, look, Osita, the petroleum industry is not like the trade and buy selling of your people in Balogu Street. There are commitments before I came to power. We need to take time to get those commitments hands-on, and also appeal to those who have been committed that the crude oil is not sold the same on the market, that there's always a commitment back before the day in question. So I think they have resolved that, and where we are now is that by October, Dangote Refinery and the rest will get the allocated crude in Naira. And that means there will be multiplier advantages like the reduction in price and even the reduction of the so-called hemorrhage on our foreign reserve and foreign exchange dealings. So those issues have been dealt with to a larger extent, and we might not, a lot of people had said that Tinubu is not listening. That is not my position today, because I've attended meetings and I've seen that he's bothered about the outcry of the Nigerian state and the citizenry.
Sure. Thank you so much for outlining your thoughts to us. Now, I'd like to start with the local government autonomy. Now, two things involved there. When this landmark ruling was passed, there were a number of analysts who came and picked apart some key factors. The first is that this ruling is incomplete. There can be no such thing as local government autonomy without some sort of revision of the electoral process that takes place, because we all know that local government elections are just rubber stamp elections. So the first issue is that people feel that, yes, fine, this may be a landmark ruling, but it's incomplete, because at the end of the day, the local government chairmen are still just proxies of sitting governors. So your take on that, on people saying that this that you're calling a milestone of this administration, a lot of people are saying is an incomplete piece of legislature. And then secondly, there are those who are also saying the Supreme Court judgment is only implementable on paper. That really, when we look at the nuances on the ground, we all know the intricacies and the intrigues that take place at the grassroots level in Nigeria, that at the end of the day, it's great for us to say we have this legislation, but it will, as we've already seen, there's already been the 3-month window, still not implemented. Can it ever be implemented? So can we really count this as a milestone of this administration?
Yes, my sister, it's a milestone. And those who are the critics are not wrong. They are not wrong by saying that if you don't amend certain relevant sections of our Constitution, that is going nowhere. But they should also remember that in a public space, there are always two sides of the coin. Today, a lot of people call the National Assembly the rubber stamp National Assembly. But this is where they're going to play their role. They already is one of the top agenda on the Alteration Committee's table, made up of the Senate and the House of Rep. I happen to have talked to Right Honorable Ben Carlo, the chairman of the Senate, of the House Committee, and he told me that nobody, both the governors, because those who are governors as well, in as much as they behave like emperors, they are aware that one day they will not be governor anymore. And they know that the Nigerian people have gotten the clarion call that it's also only looking at the center to ask where is Tinubu spending our money, Buhari the other time, Jonathan the other time, Obasanjo the other time, that today the local government council is now in the hands of the citizenry. A lot of local council, but not go the way they go before, no matter how handpicked the elections are. But a good story is that the Amendment Committee had a unison position that the debate so far is whether it should be cancelled outright and INEC will do it. Some said no. That what should happen is that you fortify the nomination process to the State INEC Commission. By the time they are finished with the alteration, I think we are going to be in a good stead to use it maximally to achieve the intendment of the landmark judgment. That's why I call it the milestone. And also the fact that the citizenry are now aware, whether you handpick Mr. Okechukwu or Mr. Musa or Mr. Ade to be a local council chairman, it is now time for the communities to march on to them and ask, luckily, they are now aware that no local council gets less than 200 million every month. Before, the excuse was that, oh, please pardon me, the governor had taken everything. He just told me to sign, and I signed because if I don't sign, I don't know what will happen. So please, when the governor comes next time, please address your questions to him. That issue had gone. And as I said, democracy is not a revolution. All the progress made have been incremental. The fact that Buhari tried to amend that section, it failed in the past. Jonathan tried, Yar'Adua tried, Obasanjo tried, it failed. And Tinubu had the ingenuity to say, okay, let's use the arm of the law to bring it to bear. Now it is easier for the amendment of those relevant sections.
Okay. Real quickly, let me just correct some quick impression. It was the federal government that asked for 3 months for people to go and put their hands in order. Let's just clarify that. So it was still the same federal government. And this attempt to tout the government as a triumphalist government as regards this decision, it's a departure from what this president used to believe in many years ago. And a lot of people are saying it's for political expediency. So you can have a leverage to be able to undercut the governors if they don't do their bidding, and it takes the power more to the locality. I mean, what do you say about all of these allegations? Are you also talking about the praises that we should heap on this government for Dangote refinery? Isn't that supposed to be about, yes, we praise the Dangote refinery, you know, for coming on stream in a very difficult business terrain like that, but there's nothing about this government that was there. The refinery was largely built during the time of Muhammadu Buhari. Even the debacle as regards crude, we all know the back and forth we went through before they said they were going to give them crude in Naira. Till today, we don't even know the price, because Dangote is saying the price NNPC quoted that they bought from there was different. So there's a lot of confusion, and you're saying we should praise this government. Praise this government when petrol price went up to over 100, with about 100 Naira markup in the space of how many days? A couple of days ago, NNPC announced that it was 800 and something they were selling. Now it's 950 based on this new template. We don't even know what is going on in the market. There's a lot of confusion. We don't even know the level of supply that is in the market. We don't even know what has happened, how much Dangote refinery sell. So there's so much confusion everywhere. So should we praise this Tinubu government for the confusion it has brought? And Gani Adams put out a statement recently. He said things are going south. T.Y. Danjuma also put out a statement. He said, see, you don't give excuses, solve banditry. There are too many problems, which a lot of people say this government has failed. Only today, the CBN was saying that part of the problems they are now facing and the challenges with their reserves is because of this subsidy removal. President Tinubu didn't think through that before he did it. He even himself admitted that. So the problem is, there's a large level of failure every way. How do you feel being an AP supporter?
Thank you, Insashi Rufai. There are two positions on this matter. One is that there's a crisis. Everybody agrees on that. Tinubu himself, President Tinubu agrees there's crisis. He agrees there's palpable poverty, there's hardship. Nobody in Nigeria could deny that fact, no matter the high heavens where you are. But the truth of the matter is that I'm talking about the solution. That on the issue of the 450,000 barrels, that this is what is holding it. And today that matter has been resolved. And if it's resolved, I sincerely believe there will be multiplier gains the Nigerian citizens will drive from it. Remember our last outing here, when I was insisting that we should define that 450,000 barrels, you were telling me that it was Ayo that was saying that Tinubu should address the nation. I said address is important, but action on what is done with 450,000 barrels. That's one. Until Waidan Juma, our revered elder statesman and others, the truth of the matter, he knows about the military more than myself, but the report on the ground had shown that the General Musa, Sidi Musas, and his group had achieved a lot in the past 1 year. I know, for instance, in one of the meetings that we held with Minister of Agriculture, where we were telling him that the hunger in the land, he said yes, he knows. That Mr. President had brought out 200 billion for what he called the Agri Fund, and that he had engaged on B2G. He said, Osita, for instance, I engaged one that is addressing the issue of cassava, called Bioresources Limited. And that in the next few months, you will see the number of Gary and others in the market. And some are addressing the rice program. So those farmers couldn't have gone to farm if it was as bad as it was before. But as I said, it's not too easy to absorb the gains because there's a trust deficit already. And we are aware that APC suffers approval rating that is low. And as human beings and as a political organization, we are doing all within we can so that in the next 1 year, we don't continue to receive the same bashing. I agree with the elder statesman, Danjuma, but if he looks down deeply, he will also know that some gains were made. I'm not trying to praise anybody, but I know that Sidi Musa and co. had done a lot. IGP, the other time, we could now see that there's synergy between the Inspector General of Police and the Police Service Commission. So the old altercation seems to have disappeared. What does that show you? It means that the 10,000 the then President Buhari earmarked for recruitment of the police force on a yearly basis will come and stream. Because it was blocked for the last few years.
Mr. Okechukwu.
If now that IGP has a good relationship with the Police Service Commission headed by Argungu and Emuchen Namani and co., I think we are going to have progress along that line.
Mr. Okechukwu, our discussion is state of the nation. Now, first, there was something you said. We keep getting this confusion. People, as you were talking about, supply of crude to Dangote refinery, and you were saying, by the time they collect, they start paying for the crude in Naira, the price of, pump price of petrol will reduce. Now, please, let's stop giving people false hope. I keep making the point. The fact that there will be supply of crude, if it happens, does not necessarily mean that the price, the pump price, would go down. Dangote refinery or any other local refinery will sell at cost price because they are not running an NGO business. It's not charity. They are in business to make a profit. If there are other recommendations where government can help the people in that regard, we may talk about that. That's one point. Two, are you aware of the statement credited to General Abdulsalami Abubakar, who has said that, look, economic hardship in this country has gone out of control. So all this talk about autonomy for local governments, financial autonomy, crude supply, and all that, the elder statesman is saying that economic hardship has gone out of control in this country. And that is the narrative on the lips of everybody. Will you commend the Tinubu government for that reality? Because that's the reality most people know. And three, what do you think of this threat in town? Well, not a threat. The angry youths who say they will go on strike, they've made it very clear that on October 1, they will do hashtag fearless in October by trooping onto the streets to protest economic hardship. Would you advise government to arrest anybody that carries a placard and take them to court and charge them for treason, for protesting and carrying placards? These are the key issues before the nation.
Thank you very much. Let me start from number one. I'm not the spokesperson for Mr. President, but I've attended several meetings, and I'm not here to disclose how that reduction in price will come. But I was there when they did an analysis of how our colleagues in the OPEC do manage local consumption to bring to bear and reduce hardship in their countries. In that map, Venezuela was taken to the extreme that says the lowest in among the OPEC countries. And they considered Saudi and others. And they said, for God's sake, do you get foreign exchange at all costs and starve their people at home? I know by the time that issue is concluded, it might not go the way you are thinking. You will see the advantage of that intuition to go on the naira basis. There's no law on earth that says as an OPEC country, if you dash your people the barrels, that you're out of OPEC. But I know there will be a middle ground. On that one, on elder statesman Absalom, I have my greatest respect for him because he pioneered the return to our democracy, to the Fourth Republic. And they have been there with his group, Bishop Hassan Kuka and others, trying to make sure that even the conduct of the elections go well. But what Absalom is saying is real. But as I said, I'm not praising Tinubu. But what I know President Tinubu had done is that we now have a responsive review committee. Where are we getting it wrong? Where are we getting it right? And that committee has put a lot in place that is not for me now to disclose before it's mature. The official organs of the state will be in a position, the Minister of Education, Idris Mohammed and others, will be in a position to explain this. Remember the last or two times I appeared here, one of the debates we had on the ground was when I was advising Labour to put housing on their bouquet. That over 90% of Nigerian workers don't live in their own personal houses. Today, the federal government had also made arrangements in how to increase mass housing, to reduce the pains of the people. Why the CAG and others are going on? Because all these fall within the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. But the guarantee we are giving is that it will not be this hard next year. That's the guarantee. Because I don't want to give the details, but His Excellency Absalom Abubakar, what he's saying today is germane, reasonable, and factual. And we agree with him. What we're now doing is, how do we fix the pieces? We agree that there's a broken pieces. What we're trying to couple is to fix it. Because if we come next year to start telling the same stories, nobody will listen to us. Those youths who want to go on strike as well, please, they should remember. I think what some of us in our little way will advise the government is to engage some of them so that we'll tell them what the government is doing already, in spite of how difficult things are.
Mr. Okechukwu, quickly, we're trying to manage time. The inconsolable youths of Nigeria will claim that they will be fearless in October, starting from October 1. What do you have to say to them? Briefly, because we have to go now.
No, we have to engage them. We have to talk to them to tell them what the government is doing.
I see. Okay. We hope government will take action before October 1 comes.